Hello and welcome to the Life in Recovery podcast, episode 90. I hope you're doing well. This episode of the podcast is with my great friend Dennis Berry. He's a life coach and he is the host of the Funky Brain podcast, and he is a person that I have become very, very close to over the last 12 months, and he's just a great friend. I'm hopefully going to see him this August in Mexico, where I'm going on holiday with my family, and he is moving there indefinitely. So really excited about that, and I really hope that you enjoy listening to this podcast as much as I enjoyed speaking with Dennis.
I'm good. It's weird. I'm like, because I'm moving
Yes, you
and
are. You're moving to Mexico.
I know, but I still have 9 weeks
Okay.
and, but I'm selling all my shit. So I have a table because I sold my desk. I sold the shelves, the chairs. Last night, my living room furniture, all gone. I'm going to send you pictures of like what it used to look like, because I had like nice stuff. And what it looks like now, I have the folding stadium chairs in my living room. And that's
you're living like a hobo within your house.
I am, yeah. It's so funny. The girl who bought all my furniture, living room furniture, she's a friend, and she paid $1,000 for it. So she came and took it last night. I was like, I need to keep the accent pillows, because I bought these nice accent pillows. I was like, I need to keep those because so I can make like a little place to sit down in the living room. Otherwise, it's all I have is like my desk, which is just a table with a tablecloth, and my bed, which is upstairs. And then I don't and I sold the dining table, the dining set and everything. So I have a TV table and a folding chair, and
Cool.
that's
Exciting times.
it is, yeah, it is.
And it's looking good for us coming to Mexico to see you as well, because as far as we can tell so far, Mexico is on the green list. So hopefully we'll be able to get out there and see you in August. So yeah, that's going to be amazing.
Isn't that amazing? I keep telling people, I'm like really, I can't wait to hang out.
I know, me too. It's going to be crazy. It's just I was thinking about it. It's funny because I met when I was in my early 20s. I met an Italian couple on holiday in Thailand, and I just stayed in touch with them. Stayed friends with them. And then many years later, I ended up living with them in Gran Canaria for a few months. And it was like the story that led to that was just all God, higher power, coincidence, synchronicity stuff. But I was thinking, there's certain people that I've met in my life who, you just meet them randomly and you have this like amazing connection with them, and then they become part of your life, and you're one of those people. So yeah, it's going to be great to actually see you in the flesh.
I know, I can't wait, man. Because we haven't seen any flesh in like a year.
I know.
Like there's a woman on social media who we live nearby now, since I've been separated last year.
Yeah.
And we set up a time to do, because I used to do a lot of business networking and all types of stuff, meet at Starbucks, coffee shops, and network, and nothing for a year. And we set up an appointment, meeting, like a networking thing to meet in 2 weeks at a Starbucks. And it's like weird. Like, I'm like, should I even do that? I'm like, I feel weird about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had a live meeting with anybody in like a year.
Well, I'm back to work now. Like, I've been working from home pretty much for a year, and now I'm back in the office like 3 days out of 5 a week. And it's just like I've gone from, no travel time every day to traveling for like 3 hours a day. Oh, it's horrible. And I've got like, but having said that, the face-to-face connection with people, you don't realize how much you've missed it until you get it back. And when I first went back to the office, it was like it was weird. It was strange being with people, and it was very draining as well. Like, I come home from work and I'd just be absolutely shattered. Like long drive, talking to people all day, just not used to it. And then now I'm about a month into that now, and I'm kind of getting used to it. And it's good. I think it's good to have have variety. You know, it's good to like have a bit of time working from home, have a bit of time working in the office. I mean, funnily enough, I went to a meeting, an AA meeting a few nights ago, and this guy walked in, and I'd not seen him for years. And I was like, oh, not seen you for a while. And he said, no, I've been away for. Well, I said, regardless of the pandemic, he said I've been away from the fellowships for about 8 or 9 months. And I said, oh right. I said, how come you're back? And he said, well, he said, I'm not thinking about drinking. He said, I've started to get really, really irritable and and miserable and angry and stuff. And he said, and my sponsor advised me to come back to the meetings. He said, but I'm still not sure about it. And I said, well, it's not about listening to drinkalogs, is it? And it's not about hearing about drinking. It's just about the connection. It's like, if you've not got the connection, where do you get that from? And if you can get it elsewhere, fantastic. But and then as we had a conversation in the break as well, and he was saying like, how do you find it? Because obviously I've been around for quite a few years, and he said, how do you find it? Like, still coming to meetings? How often do you go to meetings? And I said, well, funnily enough, my recovery has reached a place now. Like, I'm in my 11th year, and I said, like, I'm not connecting with the drinkalogs and the stories about alcohol and drinking and all that, because it's just so far away. And I said, even though I like to be reminded that I'm an alcoholic, I said, for me, what I come to the meetings for, and now I've started going to other meetings, which is something that I wanted to talk about really, and I'd like to be the theme of this conversation. As I said, for me, it's about managing my emotions, and actually managing my emotions is the wrong term. It's about managing my reactions to my emotions and my responses to my emotions. And I said to him, like, I've joined another fellowship, so I never even heard. I don't know if you've heard. Have you ever heard of Emotions Anonymous? Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
So how Adele had a really tough time a couple of months ago.
Yeah, you did tell me about this. That's right.
Yeah. So she kind of like hit her rock bottom, through some kind of physical and mental health issues, and we had a conversation about the kind of support that she was going to get, and I said, obviously, like, I want to support you as best as I can, but you need something like what I've got, like I've got a support network, and and I can rely on those people, and it really helps me to get through the tough times in life. And she was like, yeah, you're right, so anyway, within 24 hours, she'd Googled and and researched and stuff, and she said, have you ever heard of Emotions Anonymous? And I said, never heard of it in my life. And she said, it's been going since like the 1970s, and she said, it's basically it's the 12-step program, and she said it's all about being powerless over your emotions. And I was like, sounds great. So she started doing those meetings a couple of months ago, and what an unbelievable difference it's made. I mean, so much so that I was kind of like, I'm going to try these meetings. And I've been to I think I've been to 4 meetings now. And you know what, Dennis? It's what I've been looking for, because it's speaking the same language that I'm used to speaking, but it's all about, as I said, managing your reactions to your emotions. And that is where I'm at in my recovery. Like, never think about drinking, never think about using, but still have that irritability, bit of suppressed anger, still use other fixes like food, as we've talked about many times. And just through doing 4 meetings, I feel loads better, and B, I can see that if I work the steps in this, take the steps in this fellowship, I can see that it'll have a massive benefit. So that's kind of where I'm at with it now.
I want to Google and see if that's here, or is it just in Europe? Or
it's all over America. America is massive in America. Well, much bigger.
Emotions
Anonymous.
Emotions Anonymous.
Yeah.
12-step program of recovery. 50th anniversary. Find a meeting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take our time, but USA meeting locator tool. Interesting.
Well, and plus, you've obviously got the luxury of Zoom now. So the American meetings and the UK meetings, they're all they're on Zoom, which is how we've accessed them, because there's no meetings in the nearest meeting to us is about an hour drive away, and it's only once a week on a Sunday. So we've been connecting via Zoom. But we're planning.
This says they're all remote now due to COVID.
Yeah. But we're planning on opening our own meeting.
Really? Oh, and I bet it's helped your relationship too.
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, like, now we're talking the same language now.
Right.
And and the thing is, what like the key to it has been recognizing that that critical inner voice, and not just critical of yourself but critical of others, like the kind of thing, you come down in the morning, the dishes are in the sink, the lounge is still a mess from the night before, all that kind of stuff, which normally you either make a mental note of it and then it comes out sideways later on that day or further down the line, like when you're having an argument about something completely different, or you end up saying something there and then, like, this is pissing me off, blah, 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 blah. It's that thing of, and so looking at that situation and saying to yourself, okay, the lounge is a mess, the kitchen's a mess, whatever, but I do that as well. There's times when I put the dishes in the sink and don't clean them up, and my partner does loads around the house. I'm sure she was just really busy and she's kind of got caught up with other stuff with the kids. And it's just that way of thinking, like really, really turning it on its head, which I've never heard that before in fellowships. I've never, I suppose I've heard it, and I suppose people have said, change your thoughts and you'll change your behavior and all that kind of stuff. But nobody's ever really given me the practical tools to change that, and as you know, through listening to people share in meetings, you just hear it, don't you? You hear what they're doing and you think, oh, okay, yeah, like, that's me. Like, I can do that. And then, and when I'm driving in my car and I'm like, usually every other word is F, effing B and all this, because people are cutting me up and all sorts. And again, it's just like changing the thought patterns and thinking, well, I don't always drive slowly all the time. And sometimes I pull out on people and, and all that kind of stuff. And it just really helps. It helps to bring the levels of stress down. And I've literally, like I said, I've only done a few meetings, but it's definitely helping so far. So I want to stick with it.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I think it's awesome. Yeah, cool stuff. Man.
Yeah. And this is what I wanted to talk about, really, is like, I suppose, you said, like, let's do another podcast about what the things that we kind of learned, I suppose, over the last year or a couple of years or whatever, and, and where we're at. And
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to hear where you're at as well, because that's where I'm at. I'm at the place now where I suppose after writing a few books and understanding all this on a kind of, on a conscious level, understanding that it is about responding to your emotions and not about reacting to them. That's where I'm trying now to kind of build my recovery around that and build my life around, behaving that way. Because some of the people that I've heard sharing, like, there's a woman last night actually that shared, and she said, she'd been 20 years in AA, and she said ever since she came to EA, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, she said, like, she's completely changed. She said even a partner has said to her that, you've changed so much. And she said, I've just reached a level of serenity. Like when it talks about in the book and it says, like, you'll reach a level of serenity and joy in your life. Well, obviously that's what people want, isn't it? And I'm no different. And she's like, I've got that. And I was like, cool. If you've got that, then I want that as well, and it is possible,
Well, yeah, I think we just get stagnant. I mean, I've been 1,000, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really been in the last year, and I really didn't go much in the last 3 years, 4 years. But for the first 14 years, I went to thousands and thousands of meetings. And it's really it's the same stuff. And I think it's great for the newcomer, and it just becomes repetitive and redundant. And I think it has like a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I think that you're well beyond that. too. And
Well,
I mean, it's still about the newcomer, but if you're going to a meeting and you're sitting there with 20 guys with at least 10 years of sobriety, there's no newcomers, and all you're doing is talking about the same shit. And so it's what's on page 64, page 58, page this, page that. And it's like, what else did you learn?
Yeah.
What else are you doing? Like, I understand the principles. Now what?
Yeah. That's kind of, what I was finding in the majority of meetings I was going to was we're talking about the problem or not, but a lot, but we're not talking about the solution enough. And like you said, there's a ceiling, isn't there? Because the solution, you can go much, much deeper into the solution. And I think that isn't really the focal point of most of the meetings that you go to. So, with this fellowship, it definitely is the focal point. And, and it's like, a guy said to me that I was, I'm looking for a sponsor basically. And I spoke to a guy the other day and he said to me, well, how long do you want to stay unwell?
Yeah, it's your choice.
Yeah. And I said, well, yeah. And I hadn't even really thought about that because, I feel well. I don't feel unwell, but actually like there's different levels to that wellness, aren't there? Like you can be doing okay, but still in the background thinking to yourself, well, I've not quite reached my full potential here. I'm not quite living my best life. There's still stuff that I can, and I'm sure there's always stuff that you can be doing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, you reach the top of the mountain peak or anything like that, but I think that when deep down within you that there's like, that you're falling a little bit short, in life in general. I mean, if you're blowing up on your partner left, right, and center, like if I lose my temper in an argument, I still resort to being a complete dickhead, like acting like a child. And I'm a 40-year-old man. I don't want to react to if I feel angry, I want to be able to express that I feel angry about something, but I don't want to react like that, and those are the things that I want to change in my life. So I'm still kind of, well, I think that I found something that'll definitely help.
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. I think it's great.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And what about with the life coaching stuff? How's that going for you?
Oh, everything's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. Well, when I went to Mexico, my activity dropped because my activity level, because I go pretty hard at like intense everything I do. And so it was kind of a vacation, but I also worked a few days a week while I was there. But it was a month, and then so it kind of dipped down a little bit. And then I lost a few clients, and then I need to like rebuild back. But it's hard to build up to that level where I was, and it's easy to drop off, and then it's hard to get back up again. So it's okay, but everything is really great. Life is really good.
What do you find is the kind of typical amount of time that somebody works with you for? Do you think there's a kind of a period of time where they reach a certain place and then they have a break? Or
yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, it's different for each person. Like I have one guy, he's been 2 years, he's like he'll never be without it. And then there's some that they come in with a crisis, and then a month later and they're like kind of what we're talking about. They come in with a crisis, they're unaware of how to get through it, and we work through it, and a month later they're done.
Yeah.
So and then it's everything in between, but it's usually a good 6 months solid. Yeah. But and I wouldn't recommend less expectations of less than that, because what we're talking about is really the subconscious mind, which was programmed over decades. So it's going to take longer than 3 to 6 months to change those harmful behaviors that went on for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And what happens is people get comfortable, whether it's I've been working with lots of couples and addiction recovery, or those are my two big ones. And even with couples, it's like you have this couple been married for 30 years, they're ready for divorce, and then we come in and start working on each other, on yourself, and things kind of smooth out, and you're like, great. And then they're like, all right, well, we're good. well, how can you be good in 3 months after 25, 30 years? You know, when you get together, there's the honeymoon period. Everything's great. Sex every day, no problems. Everything's perfect. And then you start getting into, I mean, every relationship has it. There's harmful behaviors going on. There's emotional affairs going on when you're talking to other people and because you're not getting that needs met there. And then that can go on for 20 years, 30 years. And then we talk for 3 months and all that's gone. No, it takes time. So then they'll quit and be like, all right, well, we're good. Everything's great. And then 3 months later, they're right back into, well, we're getting divorced.
Yeah.
Because you go right back to the old behavior, not because you want to, because that's what our subconscious mind directs us right to it.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's programmed to do, just like brushing your teeth. Like you're used to brushing your teeth. But if I tell you to stop brushing your teeth for a month, it's going to suck. You're going to be like, and then one day you're just going to, if you're not working on that, you're just going to automatically go back and brush your teeth because your mind says, I need to brush my teeth.
Yeah. Everything that we do that's habitual, it's very, very difficult to break it, isn't it?
It is. Well, it took years to program. It's like you didn't just stop pooping in your diaper because mom said, stop doing that. Go poop on the toilet. And you didn't just stop that day. It took like months of training. You had some accidents and like failures. And now you just like, you have to go to the bathroom. You go sit on the toilet. So it takes time to get programmed to do that. And so it takes time to get programmed to do any behavior, and to undo it takes time. And you learned by doing it every day over and over and over and over again. So it's going to take doing it differently every day over and over and over again for 6 months or a year to really reprogram your thinking.
And that's really difficult for most people to get their heads around, isn't it? Because it's tough. It's like, it's difficult work to do, you know, like there isn't, I suppose, you know, firstly, there's no quick fixes. And secondly, there has to be the drive and the desire to want to change.
Sure. When there's enough pain,
Yeah.
then that's where that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially when it comes to relationships. I mean, you know, it's not been any secret on this podcast that I've shared, you know, that me and my partner have been through loads of ups and downs. And, you know, the only reason that the relationship survived and that it's now doing really well is because we're both committed to it. You know, like we both want to be with each other, and that's with a full stop at the end of it. Like there isn't any doubt in my mind that I want to be with anybody else, and it's the same for her. But in previous relationships, that wasn't the case, and that's why I never would have put the work in. You know, because there was always that lurking notion in the background of like, well, you know, this person's probably not the person I'm going to be long term. Even when I was married, like I knew deep down in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to last forever. And it's hard to be that honest with yourself as well. You know, it's like really difficult, isn't it? Honesty, I think, is like the backbone of all recovery for me. You know, when you learn to be rigorously honest with yourself, and that's really hard. That's really difficult.
It really is. And it's amazing how hard it is living a life of pure honesty and integrity.
Unbelievably hard. Like I'm nowhere near that. Nowhere near it, you know, like.
Right, but you have to carry on. It's just the awareness and growing your awareness. So first, the pain brings us to that awareness, which the gift of desperation, right? So I'm able to see things differently now, and then continuing to grow the awareness. Otherwise, you slide back into the old behavior, and then you end up being dishonest and being dishonest with yourself. That's the worst part. That's what keeps you up at night. That's what keeps you driving in the fast lane, giving people the finger and all that stuff. That's what does that.
You know that famous book, the recovery book that's not an official recovery book, but Drop the Rock? Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that book, I've read it quite a few times because I love it. And there's a line in that book which I've always like used as my kind of mantra, which is awareness, acceptance, action. Because the awareness, it says that you can be aware of something for years and years and years, but until you accept it, then and once you accept it, that is when you can take the action to change. And yeah, I mean, like the awareness of the dishonesty, like, you know, you can say to yourself, right, okay, well, I'm going to be, from this point onwards, I'm going to be honest about everything to everyone. But actually, your innermost self hasn't accepted that you're dishonest yet. So it'll never work, you know?
Well, it comes from daily like that's where meditation comes in. Daily meditation. Because every single day I wake up and, you know, it's not even malicious. Like what you're talking about, it's not malicious. We're not bad people. It's actually human because we're doing our best to survive. It's a survival instinct. It's primal. So we want to, you know, the book talks about that at some point. It's like we all want to be somebody amongst our peers. We all want to like look good and make a certain amount of money, or maybe that's in the 12 and 12. I forget. The 12 and 12 is an incredible book. I mean,
I love that book. Yeah, I love that book as well. You know what's funny about that though is that he wrote that book after he did all his LSD trials. Do you know that?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's just like that's when, because he had a deeper level of understanding about everything he was doing.
Yeah,
and I think that the big book is really, I mean, it's awesome. I never belittle AA. I never do.
No.
It's the best program. It's helped millions of people, and it's just like, now what? And I think that it's good to go back and revisit, like you said, remind me that I can go back to drinking and kill myself.
Yeah.
But we're doing service work. I do it for a living. And now it's like the 12 and 12 he wrote with a way deeper level of understanding, and it goes deep about what it all really means. Yeah. And so I think that book was fascinating. I would read that one again. The 6th and 7th step in there, awesome. And the 11th step too, the importance of meditation and prayer. Yeah, keep that in mind. And I used to this is what I used to say when I went to meetings a lot, was like the 11th, like prayer and meditation, it's not an option. No. It was a step. It's part of the program. Yeah. So the program is a spiritual program. It's not a not drinking program. It's a spiritual program. Yeah. And prayer and meditation is integral to your sobriety and what we're talking about, emotional sobriety. Yeah. No meditation, no emotional sobriety. It just doesn't work. No, especially with us, because we're all jacked up, you know, and our minds create funky brain. So I need things to cope with that. So I used to use drugs and alcohol, and now I use prayer and meditation and exercise and diet and water and, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. But it takes constant daily reminders. Otherwise I revert back to that old behavior, even after 18 years of sobriety.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if you don't have prayer and meditation in your life, then you don't have a program. It's as simple as that. I mean, the 12, it's funny, isn't it? Because obviously the 12 steps is, as it says in recovery, is a suggested program of recovery. But, you know, the way that my sponsor said it to me is like, it's a suggestion in the same way that I suggest that you pull the cord if I throw you out of an aeroplane with a parachute on your back, you know. That's a great one.
If I suggest you don't drive off that cliff, you should probably not do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. And I got that straight from the very beginning. And, you know, like people, I think, you know, people pick and choose, don't they, what it is that they want to do with the program and with their recovery. And like, I just always, from the very, very beginning, well, not from the very beginning, from the point when, like you said before, when it became too painful, and then I realized I needed to practice the whole 12 steps. From that point onwards, I just made sure that I did everything that it was suggested. And in the book, you know, the big book was written by a conglomerate of people, wasn't it? It wasn't just written by one person. I mean, primarily Bill wrote it, but it was like all of the different you know, opinions and views of the kind of first few, you know, people that got sober, which is great. And I think that the actual, you know, the book itself is absolutely fantastic. But like you said, the 12 and 12, he wrote that years later, and he'd already had many more insights into, and it was kind of like, you know, he termed it emotional sobriety, didn't he? That's what he said. He said initially it's you know, it's sobriety from alcohol or drugs or whatever, but then there's a level of emotional sobriety that you can reach that you need in order to gain that serenity that he was talking about. And not many people do get that. you know, you go to a lot of meetings and you can tell the people that don't have that level of serenity and that are still stuck in their old behaviors. And when you hear them share, they're only talking about the problem, they're not talking about the solution. And it's because they've not had the solution yet, because they haven't taken the steps, and they're not, like you said, rigorous daily discipline of action. You know, you get up every morning, you pray, you meditate, you do some gratitude, you read something spiritual, you know, like all these things that everybody that's been around for a while that's happy says, like, that's what I do. So you do that, don't you? And if you do that, your life slowly starts to change, you know, taking inventory, like you always talk about, writing, just writing everything down. You know, if you're not picking up a pen ever and you're not writing anything down, again, you're not going to get well. You're always going to stay sick, you know. And there's just these little things that, like, if you do those things every single day, progressively you'll get better. And if you don't do those things, you'll either stay the same or get worse.
You will. Yeah, emotionally drunk. I mean, it really is. It's just, everything is just emotional sobriety. When we talk about, we were just talking about the daily discipline of whatever it is. And it says in the book, we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we're talking about addiction recovery, alcoholism, because that's our world. But we human beings are undisciplined, right? We need direction and guidance. I do. You know, I one of the cool things, I can't speak for anybody else. I can't diagnose you. You have to come to your own awarenesses. But left to me, if I'm left to run the show, I just run amok. You know, I'm like, I'm just going to go eat a pound of cookies and not do the things that are going to help me become successful.
Yeah.
And so the daily discipline, it says we alcoholics are undisciplined, and I need the discipline of meditation. And like yesterday I was walking around this lake I go to every day, and I sat down at this park, and I sat down on a park bench, and I hit 25-minute meditation, and I just went into silence. And, you know, I started lately, the last like year or so, I've been doing a lot of humming meditation. So I start with like 5 minutes of humming because it sends this vibration through my body, and this such calmness. And then I'll stop, and then I'm just like so calm. And then I sat there for another 20 minutes. And, you know, your mind takes you on these journeys. Oh, she's said this, he said this, he's stupid, they don't know what they're talking about, this person, politician, all this place. And you just get recentered. And, you know, people really need to get through that to the other side and realize you just stay in the meditation no matter what. It's 20 minutes. 20 minutes. It's like, it's a TV show. It's less than a TV show. Just sit still, calm down. You know, they say I forget where I heard it, but all of man's misery, man and woman, come from our inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
I love that quote. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Isn't that the best? We always have to be doing something. We have to go make money, or go here, or talk to this person, or do that, have this job, do this, say this. We don't know how to just sit still and be human beings, right? Yeah. And if you could just sit there for 20 minutes, your whole life changes. Your whole outlook on life changes. Your senses are heightened. Like, when I opened my eyes, I could see better. I could hear better. And there was ducks and geese like all around me. And I didn't think about any problems. And everything was just better. So, but the problem is, I'm like, that's great. And then I'm going to do that every day. And then tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm late. I have to go run. And then I forget to do that. And then I end up in the fast lane giving people the finger.
Yeah.
Because it's a daily grind.
I think though, what's unnatural about you know, like you said right at the beginning, then you said that, you know, we're undisciplined. I think that the way I always think about human beings though is when you think about where we came from. So, you know, like when we were in tribes and we were just like living on the savannah, or we were living in the jungle, or we were living in the outback or whatever, there was no structure. You know, that is how humans are naturally supposed to live. You know, like you wake up when the sun comes up, you go to bed when the sun goes down, you sleep a lot, you do a minimal amount of work just to get your food and to do a little bit of building the huts or whatever it is that you're doing during the day. And then, you know, probably 50% of your day sat around with your mates having fun and having like laughing and joking and telling stories. That's how we're supposed to live. So it's no wonder that, like, naturally that is how we want to be. Like, But society is set up in the completely opposite way, because if you're one of those people who only does that, then society considers you an absolute failure and a dropout and a loser. And if you're the opposite to that person and you have everything totally scheduled in, your entire diary scheduled in every single day, you're really successful, you're smashing it at work, I don't know, you've got like 2.4 children, you've got 2 cars on the driveway, you've got loads of money in the bank, you're going on holiday to Mexico 3 times a year, you're a success. But most people that have got that life are really, really miserable because they don't have any peace of mind. So I think we talked about this quite a lot when I was, doing when you were life coaching me, and I was saying that I can see the benefit of this immediately because we did a couple of sessions and straight away my productivity increased 50%. I was like, because at the time I was writing the book, wasn't I? And I said my main thing was that I wanted to get the book finished, and I got the book finished like, I don't know, within a month, and I thought it was going to take me 6 months. It was definitely, there was a huge benefit to working in that way of being really disciplined and having routine and planning everything in. But at the same time, I was exhausted, and I thought, and I was like, I felt as though I was constantly like up, like I was like always on high. And that conflicted with my recovery in a way because, I've got a sponsor that constantly says to me, take it easy, relax. And then I've got a life coach who's saying like, plan things in, da, 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 da. So I said to you, didn't I, like, I need to find that balance. And that for me is the truth of the matter, is to find the balance. Because, and you used to say to me, well, you need to plan in the time where you're relaxing and you're chilling, which is right. And I know that that's right. But I suppose then what happened was when we stopped working together and we're just now, really good friends, I then reverted back to my not planning anything. So it is, like I can see, it's just it's a tough one, isn't it? It's about definitely being able to find balance. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, balance. That's ancient wisdom, ancient Eastern philosophy. It's always like balance. You need balance, Daniel's son. Like that's always the way it's been. But we're unbalanced because we crave more. And I think it was 12 and 12. I forget which book it was where they talk about our basic needs have been fulfilled. We needed water, shelter, food, clothing, warmth. Like I forget what those are, but now they're full and they're way beyond full. And so now we just eat all day because we used to not eat every day. We used to not even eat every day. So everybody's like, oh, you need to eat 3 balanced meals every day and blah, blah, blah. And now people are eating 6 meals a day because it's there. And I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do for work. I'm busy. I'm in debt. My relationship sucks. I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. And that's what people do. It's a distraction. It's the same thing as drinking. It's the same thing as watching porn or shopping, emotional shopping, like going and, the buying things to help fix your emotional stuff, or scrolling on your phone all day, or watching 6 hours of Netflix. Those are all distractions. Now, there's times for that. If you're getting all your goals accomplished and everything and then that's balance. Like, oh, I could binge watch. Everything's great. My relationship's great. Everything's going really well. Work as well. I feel comfortable. And some days you just end up chilling out and you eat some cookies and watch Netflix. But if that's a daily occurrence because you're avoiding taking care of your responsibilities, then that becomes a problem if you think it's a problem. Yeah. Right? If you're not hitting your goals and it's bothering you, then that's a problem. If you're not hitting your goals and you don't care, then, that's your life. You go the way you want. But I want to go back to the primal stuff you were talking about, because we weren't designed to live in this crazy world that we live in. And, and I'm sure you and I have talked about it, but, and the analogy I use, and I used to do a speech about this, but it's when you go on vacation and on the last day of vacation, everybody says the same thing all the time. And it doesn't matter if you're at the beach or the mountains or the lake or whatever your happy, calm vacation is. But everybody says, oh, it's back to the real world tomorrow.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yes.
But reality.
But this isn't the real world. That's the real world.
Yeah.
That's the real world where we belong. And that's why as soon as we get there, we calm down. There isn't the noise, the sirens, the horns, the pollution, the stuff that's keeping us sick.
Yeah.
It's not there. And as soon as we get there, we're in our natural state, our natural environment as human beings, as animals that, you know, are primal creatures that we really are. And we calm down immediately. We're
Yeah.
peaceful.
Yeah.
And then we calm down and we spend, you know, 4 days a week or whatever there, and then we come back to this crazy world. As soon as we get here, we tense back up. And then we have to stay here to pay for the mortgage and to pay for the kids and the cars and the stuff, and work so hard and get stressed out and in debt up to our eyeballs and eating crap, and we don't know how to handle this world, so we end up on pills, you know, to keep us happy and sane and not stressed out. And then so we can save up some money to go back to the real world. It's a total paradox. And so we need, especially if you're going to live in this world, this crazy world that we've built, which is natural. Billions of people live in the crazy world. But if you really want to be peaceful in the crazy world, it requires the daily meditation. It requires taking care of your body, like eating well, self-care, self-love, self-respect. You practice those things by surrounding yourself with people that make you happy, eating well, drinking lots of water, prayer, meditation, and working on things that make you happy. And then you can live, then you can thrive in this world. Because honestly, this world, the crazy world I'm talking about, which you know, it's really designed for only very few to really succeed at a high level. That's why you hear about the billionaires and the high level 9-figure millionaires and stuff. It's only the 1%, because this world is designed for only that level of success for just a few people. The rest of us are always striving to get there, but we don't really know how.
Well, it's proven as well that those people that are the 1%, they're all psychopaths or at least sociopaths. I mean, your Mark Zuckerbergs of this world, and they have no compassion or empathy for people, do they? You know, and you can see it, like, you know, you can see it in your Donald Trumps and your Mark Zuckerbergs. And I know that sounds like a very judgmental statement, but let's face it, it is true. Those people that are like absolutely way above everybody else. I mean, if they really, really cared for everybody else, they'd be able to end, you know, like all the poverty in the world at the drop of a hat. And they don't do this, so they can't be very compassionate. And you know, something that I've learned through back to the EA meetings, the Emotions Anonymous, something that I've learned, which is a huge revelation to me, and ties in with this crazy society that we live in, is that the majority of times that I don't feel comfortable with myself, so if I feel restless, irritable, and discontent, and I act out on those feelings with food or whatever it is, like you said, shopping or whatever, the actual trigger for that is usually shame. And in this world that we live in, we're constantly shamed because we don't feel like we're attaining what we should be attaining. So a perfect example is like, if I'm at work in the office and I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed and I just need to be away from the office, like I need to go home and work from home and get some space, you know, prior to the pandemic, I never really felt like I could do that because, you know, if my manager rang me, she'd be like, where are you? What are you doing? Whereas now I feel like I can do that and have an explanation and say, like, you know, I'm just going to go and work from home. And that feeling of shame, of not being able to cope with what's going on in that stressful work environment then triggers me to go to the shop on the way home and buy a load of cookies. And it's that constant feeling of triggered, of, you know, not achieving, not living up to my responsibilities, just basically not feeling good enough, when actually the natural state of a human being is nothing but being good enough. You know, it's only when you put all these things into place where you've got to, you know, achieve, that if you feel like you're not achieving it, you're screwed, aren't you? Because you're constantly in a shame based lifestyle, and that shame creates creates fear, and the fear is medicated with whatever you medicate it with, you know. And like you said, people are on pills for anxiety, they're on pills for depression, they're on illicit substances, they're drinking alcohol just to relax, you know. And everybody, like on a gradient, the whole society is addicted to something. the whole of society. It's just pretty tragic, really, isn't it? Considering that is the state of things. But there is like a glimmer of hope in the fact that if you can find a program, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the 12-step program, but if you can find a program, and that might be a religious program, it might be a philosophical program, it might be your own program that involves introspection, meditation, inventory, being kind to others, compassion, empathy, self-love, and all that kind of good stuff that we've been talking about, you can actually survive it and start to detach from it as well. And one of the things that Adele and I have talked about a lot, since we've been together, is that we want to retire early and spend our later life doing all those things we've been talking about, relaxing, living by the sea, So rather than us thinking we need a bigger house now, which we do need a big house, but we're not going to buy one, we need a bigger car, but we're not going to buy one. We need more, we need more, we need more. Like you said, more. Rather than us thinking that way, we're thinking, right, okay, well, if we save X amount of money this year for the next 10 years, we'll be able to retire when we're 55 and live a really nice life. And that seems much more worth it, because I don't need all the material things. I don't need all the shiny little things that, that make me happy for 5 seconds. I can get rid of those like you're doing. You're selling everything that you own so that you can go and live in a beautiful place and live that lifestyle. And I applaud you for it.
We're going to the real world. I'm going to go live in
the real world. Yeah, man. And
well,
I'm gonna come and visit you in the real world. And then
I know. I'm so excited we get to hang out in August. That's like the coolest thing ever.
Cool.
But I wanted to say another thing. I mean, the prayer, meditation, absolutely. The writing, find a fellowship or a coach or somebody. It doesn't have to be me. Somebody else who's not emotionally attached to your shit.
Yeah.
Somebody who can see things, objective. Maybe with some training from an outside point of view and says, hey, don't drive off that cliff, like we were just talking about. But another thing that you can do is, and you can start right now, and I know you know this, shut off the TV, shut off the marketing. The marketing is the one that's telling you, you need this, you're a failure, you're not good enough. It's putting you in the guilt, the shame, the fear. When you watch that stuff every day, you start to believe it. Marketing works.
Yeah.
Right. So when you wake up in the morning and you turn on Facebook and they talk about politics and religion and fear and all the things that are going to put you in that constant state of panic, stress, and fear. And then that's how your day goes. Or when you wake up in the morning and you read something productive to help you detach from all that crap, and you meditate, pray, exercise, eat something that feeds your body rather than makes you sick, drink lots of water, and then go have a day like that. It's your choice. You can have the day will go however you like it to go, right? But detach from the marketing. I did marketing for a while. The job of marketing is to tell you that A, you have a problem, and B, here's the solution. And they have about 20 seconds to do it. And you listen to it over and over and over again. Oh, well, you're bald. You need this toupee. You're ugly. You're fat. You need these clothes, or you need to go on this diet because you'll lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Even though that's not it's not about health. It's about rapid weight loss, and they make money from you doing their program. So marketing works. Yeah. Just find something that works for you, helps you calm down, remove the guilt and the shame, right? The fear. Work with somebody outside of your little bubble that isn't emotionally attached to your stuff, and you're going to have a better day and achieve that balance that you're talking about. That's wisdom, balance and moderation. That I say the M word, moderation. It's like a 4-letter word. Nobody wants to hear that. I don't want a cookie. Like, there's nothing wrong with eating a cookie, but I'm going to eat a dozen big cookies, right? And then I'm going to lay there and watch Netflix, and then I'm going to mess my life up. The one thing I miss, and I say this all the time, it's about knowing who you are. One thing I miss after 18 years of sobriety is sometimes I think it would be nice to smoke a joint. I used to really like that. I thought it was fun, and I can look back over the years and I enjoyed that escape. But that's what it is. It's an escape. And my thing is, like, if I could be like hey, it's Cinco de Mayo coming up, let's smoke a joint, and not again until, you know, the 4th of July or something like that, I probably would. But I know me. I'm going to go out, and now it's legal here. So I'm going to go out and buy an ounce, and I'm going to start getting stoned every morning and every day and every night. And I'm going to screw my life up, and I have an amazing life. And so I know that I can't do that.
I'm the same with ecstasy. Like, there's been times in the past where I've just thought, I could just love to drop a pill and just feel that feeling again. But it's just getting out of your head, isn't it? And I know, like, I've, you know, it's no secret that I've dabbled with a couple of psychedelics over the last 10 years. The only reason that I did those was because I was categorically assured that they're not addictive and that I wouldn't crave using them again. And that has been my experience, fortunately. But it's funny because recently, well, actually, tomorrow I was supposed to be going back up to Manchester to see one of my friends, and we were going to go and do some mushrooms and go on another trip in the forest because we did it a couple of years ago, and I said I was, you know, ready to do it again, and it got cancelled. He's basically going away, so we couldn't do it. And actually, it was another one of those kind of higher power signs where I was a little bit like, I don't really need to do that, you know, like I've done it. It was great, and I got a lot of insight from it, but I don't really need to do that. And the path that I'm on at the moment, as we've already talked about with the kind of Emotions Anonymous and dealing with, you know, learning to respond to my emotions. Well, all that the psychedelics did was explain that to me in quite a lot of depth of like, you need to be able to respond to these emotions, and they're always going to be there. You know, it's not like when I did my life coaching training, I really liked one of the things that Kane Ramsey talked about, which was emotions are emotions. They're not an illness. Like, you're not emotionally ill. Like, everybody has those emotions. The illness is mental illness. You become mentally unwell because you cannot deal with your emotions. You can't respond to them appropriately. And I completely get that. And the marketing thing that you were talking about, I just wanted to jump to that because I really like that, what you said. You know, you can look at it with the pandemic. I mean, for the first 6 months of the pandemic, we were watching the news. We were, you know, like buying into everything that we were being told. I could not tell you what was going on with this pandemic at all now. Like, I've got absolutely no idea. Somebody sent me something about India, like the rate in India's gone, you know, like the deaths in India have gone sky high and stuff. And I just was like, I've got no interest in it whatsoever. It's not affecting my life directly. All it does is cause me irritation, fear, panic, you know, around, oh God, are we going to go back into, you know, the lockdowns and all that stuff? So because I'm not watching the news, I'm not seeing any of that marketing. You know, I'm I'm not on social media very often. I go onto Facebook like literally just to post stuff, and I don't stay on there. And I don't have any other social media presence whatsoever. And I just stay away from it. And I don't even listen to podcasts anymore. I used to listen to podcasts all the time. And now when I go out walking the dog, I just walk the dog with nothing in my ear. You know, I might ring somebody, but I have nothing in my earphones, and I just have a lot of time, not just meditation time, but I have a lot of time where I'm just me being on my own, peaceful. It's like when I'm driving in the car. I used to listen to podcasts in the car. I'd listen to hundreds of podcasts over a year, you know, and now when I'm driving, every now and then I might put a bit of music on, but generally I just drive with nothing in the car, and it allows me to just process, you know, what's going on for me. And I try to avoid driving into the nearest petrol station and buying a load of cookies.
Right. We did that. Remember when we were doing the coach, is living in silence.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Shut everything off. Try it for a week. See if you could do it. We're so desensitized to everything, the music, the noise, the TV. Shut everything off. And people are scared to death to do it.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, when you're listening to music, and I understand, I love music. I know you do too. And you make music. Like, that's awesome. But
that's my new obsession, actually.
I know. Yeah. And that's awesome. That's really great. It's great to have that passion. But it's like, you need time and silence, because when you're listening to music, you might be inspired. You might love what you're listening to, and that's awesome. But you also think about your problems, but there's no space for the solution.
Yeah.
So you might be listening to the music, singing the song, singing along with the song, feeling okay. And then you're like, oh, but I need to do this. I need to do that. When you're in silence, you still think about your problems, but there's room for the solution. There's room for the answers to come in. Say, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. Oh, but I don't need to do it right now. Right now I'm here. I'm staying present. But later on I could do this. Oh, I didn't think of that before. When you're listening to music or watching TV or going and doing and running around, there's no space for those answers to come in, for that calmness to come in, that peace of mind. And know that you don't have to live in fear, that you can let go of the past, and you don't have the guilt and the shame associated with whatever's going on in your life because you're not living up to what society thinks you're supposed to live up to. You could just be. So I recommend that if anybody's listening, that, how can I become more peaceful? Turn everything off. Try it for 1 week and just see how you feel. In the first couple of days, you're like how often you reach for your phone to turn on some social media network. It's all distractions. The music, the TV, turn it off. Like, learn how to cook something that you like to do. Go for a long walk. Do something that we were actually like meant to do that keeps us calm.
Well, the difficulty with it, like when I went on the 10-day silent meditation retreat a few years ago, the difficulty with putting everything down is that the mind amplifies and it just jacks up. So, that voice that you've got in your head, the more silence you have, the louder that voice gets. And you would think that it would just calm down like straight away, but it doesn't. And it takes in my case on that meditation retreat, it took about probably 4 days, I think, until it really started to quieten down, but that was because obviously it was in isolation. But when you do it in the normal crazy world where you just stop listening to podcasts, turn the TV off, all that kind of stuff, you still have the voice. It doesn't amplify quite as much, and like you said, the answers do actually come. Like the solutions to the problems that you're thinking about. You can never stop thinking. Like, thinking is something that you have no control over whatsoever. Same as your emotions. You're powerless over your emotions and you're powerless over your thinking. No, actually, I'll rephrase that, because that's not true. You're powerless over your emotions because they just come, and your thoughts do come, but you do have some control over your thoughts, because you can change, like whatever that thought that is that's coming in. Let's say you're getting a thought to, I don't know, go and eat the cookies or whatever. You can actually change that, can't you? You can say to yourself, no, I'm not going eating the cookies. I'm going to go and get a bottle of water. I'm going to go and get a banana and some strawberries, and I'm going to eat healthily today. And that solution does come in when the noise frequency from outside has been switched off. Because otherwise, like you've been talking about earlier, you're just running on the programming and you never get chance to make any different decisions. It's just constantly on autopilot, isn't it?
Yeah, our minds were designed to think, to protect us. What's that? I need to go over here. I need to avoid that, or I need to do something different. So and Buddha called it the monkey brain, right? So it's the monkey mind. And what
you can't say that now, because you'll probably get done for cultural appropriate, like inappropriate.
I offended somebody.
Call anybody a monkey.
I know. I'm sorry, everybody. I offended you. No, but our minds do that. And it's just like, we don't have to respond to what our minds are telling us. We can respond intelligently, but we don't have to react. That's the word I wanted to say. And that's what you were talking about earlier, right? I don't have to, I'm not responsible for what happens. I'm responsible for my reaction to it. But one of the best things the book always says, and when people come in and newly, what is that? Is that 86, 87 stuff, 88? It's like, we pause when agitated or doubtful. And my old sponsor years ago, 18 years ago, he said, and he made me draw a little arrow there. He said, we pause and pray when agitated or doubtful, and ask for the right thought or action, right? Because I used to just like, oh, I don't understand this, I'm going to react.
Yeah.
So now I have the gift where I can pause and be like, whoa, I don't understand that. And I had another sponsor many years ago. He was great, Joe Proto. And he goes, whenever something goes on and somebody's bothering me or I don't understand something, I practice the isn't that interesting technique. So when somebody says something and it pisses me off, I look at it and I say, isn't that interesting? And, and I pause. I mean, it's a funny little thing, but I do it all the time. One of the greatest gifts in sobriety for anybody to get, and it's a goal to work towards, and it requires daily effort, is to let other people be right.
Yeah.
Not have to interject my opinion, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions into the conversation. If somebody says something that I disagree with, I could be like, isn't that interesting? Maybe you're right. And then we'll move on to the next thing. I don't have to be like, no, you're stupid. You suck. You don't know what you're talking about. This is my opinion. This is how I feel. Right. And that's where so many arguments come in, political disagreements, all this stuff, because your ego says that I have to interject my opinion. You need to think or feel the way I do. Otherwise, you're dumb.
I find that quite easy these days when it's people that I've got no emotional involvement with, so with close friends and family, I don't find that very easy. But when it's, members of staff, for example, at work, or, if it's somebody that I don't know very well, I very, very rarely challenge their views and opinions anymore, because I can see that I can detach from that. There's no emotional charge with it anymore, which is nice. But that's just been a benefit of doing this work, and now I'm trying to practice that with my friends and family. And it's been interesting because my stepdaughter, the eldest of Adele's kids, we've both been practicing just letting her be, not trying to control her in any way, not trying to change her mind about things. And it's had a massive positive effect. In fact, both of the kids, actually, to be honest, it's had a hugely positive effect, because they realize that, subconsciously now they know that they're just accepted for who they are. And it's meant that they've just really wanted to spend loads of time with us. There's noticeably, usually they're in the bedrooms and they're just kind of doing their own thing. And now they're always with us and they want to spend time with us. And we know that it's a result of us changing our behavior. So what we said was, let's do that with each other. Stop trying to control each other. If you want to do something, you do it, as long as it doesn't interfere with, obviously we have time where we have time together and family time and all that kind of stuff. And it's just working wonders, because I think everybody has this, but certainly people that are, that are in fellowships, we have a complete obsession for control, don't we? And it's very, very subtle. I know if you'd have said to me, yeah, you're really controlling, John, I'd have been like, no, I'm not. I can let people, I can live and let live. I can let people, crack on with life. But actually, at the subtlest level, I'm really controlling. I want things to be how I want them to be. So, it's just that constant work of just letting go. As they say, let go and let God. And I think what you were saying then in the pause and the prayer, one of the things that is a subject in my mind, actually, and it probably has been for quite a few years, and I've never really addressed it, is that I believe in a higher power. I believe, well, I don't think a higher power is the right word, actually. I believe that the universe is alive and intelligent, and I believe that there are forces, mysterious forces beyond our comprehension, that maybe one day will be explained, but certainly can't be explained at the moment. And I think that I definitely don't believe that there is an outside force governing it. So I don't believe that there's a God governing the universe, and governing human beings like puppets. I believe that it's from inside out rather than from outside in. So I believe that this power, whatever it is, and I wouldn't say it's supernatural, because I think all is one, everything belongs, doesn't everything is together. So if it's supernatural, we're supernatural. Does that make sense? So when I don't pray. I don't really pray. I do the formal prayers. In the morning, I'll do the handover of the serenity prayer and the step 3 prayer and the step 7 prayer. I do all that, but it's very formal. It's not I'm not having a conversation with something. For me, the prayer is all about actually surrendering and letting go to the present moment. That's it. there's nothing more than that. I don't actually like. I suppose like a, in the I think it's the 12 and 12. It talks about being God conscious. That's the term that they use, and that's kind of like where I'm at. Really, is like when I pause, like you were saying, and your sponsor was saying, and in that pause, say a prayer. When I pause, I just have this innate knowledge that all is well. And that's kind of like my prayer. And funnily enough, like if you've seen the signs that like 1111 is a spiritual sign, that kind of thing. It's funny because whenever, very, very often, and too often to be coincidence, I'll have one of those moments and then I'll happen to look at my phone and it'll be 1111. And that's always my signal that this intelligent universe is kind of just saying to me, there you go, John. There's another example of just relaxing, just letting go, just handing it over, just turning it over to whatever it is. Yeah, that's how it works for me. There isn't any formal prayer going on, really. There's just an acceptance of life as it is.
Yeah, I think it's ever evolving. I remember years ago, my old mentor, he said, write down what your concept of God is. And I wrote down, he's like this Gandalf figure, like a long beard and a big hat, like a wizard. And he had a staff and he could bonk me on my head and fix all my problems and stuff. And that was like my vision of God. And you know what's funny is I went out, and this was many years ago. I went out and I bought a little figure, a little Gandalf, wizard Gandalf figure, and some Velcro tape, and I stuck them up on my dashboard in my car, and I drove around talking to God. That was like my God. And I was crying. It was just when I was figuring out that it's not about not drinking, it's about life, about growing up and emotional sobriety. And I was just figuring life out, and I still have that little wizard. And I have him. He's right over here. He's in my little meditation station, and he reminds me of that. But then everything that you said is just beautiful stuff. I mean, God just is. I was having this conversation with this woman yesterday, and she's a Christian, which is fine. If you're Christian, be Christian, whatever makes you happy. But she's like, well, when you pray, what do you pray to? Like, she didn't understand that I didn't believe that Jesus is the Son of God and all that stuff, and it totally baffled her. And I was like, well, God just is. It's that mysterious force in the universe that just is. And when you put lines on it and you define what it is, then you're saying that it's limited in power.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that. God just is. I love what you said. I wrote it down. The universe is alive and intelligent. And that's what God is. God is just a short one-syllable word to describe the power in the universe that makes the world spin around. Like, that's it. That's what I choose to believe.
And even the word God in itself, like Yahweh in the Bible, means that. What does it mean now? It means, oh God, my mind's just gone blank.
I am, like, I am that.
I am that I am. Yeah, and the word God, the European word God, means something like it brings into existence, something along those lines. So like what we're saying is like what they were saying is that all everything is God. God is all is one. However you want to term it, like that is essentially what the mystics have been saying for kind of millennia. And I think it's good though. I think dependent on your level of, and I don't even know if understanding is the right word, your level of kind of I don't know.
What's your current level of awareness?
Yes, you dependent on your level of awareness, definitely. Yeah. I think icons are okay. Like if you don't have that kind of like deep understanding for yourself, and you need a little Buddha, or you need a Gandalf, or you need a Jesus, or a cross, or whatever it is that you need to be able to visualize something to pray to, then that's fantastic. It's just that I suppose like you well, my experience was that I was like that, like I that's what I did. I had a little Buddha that I used to meditate with, and I used to look at the Buddha and I used to meditate with it and stuff. And then I think after that silent meditation retreat, I think I just had a bit of an epiphany where I was like, well, there isn't anything to pray to. Like it's all just one. So like just acceptance is the key, isn't it? Really, just if you can just accept that everything that's happening is happening, then there isn't really too much to worry about. It's you're not swimming upstream anymore, are you?
Right. And your book is just the title of your book, All is One. The problems come, and we have to go here, but the problems come because we all are connected. We are all one. All is one. What the title of your book is amazing, the way it describes it, because the problems come when we think we're separate from God, when we think we're separate from this oneness, right? The oneness, because we're all, we're not Republican or Democrat or black or white or Italian or Jewish or whatever you define yourself as. We're all earthlings. We're all human beings. We're all in this together. The problems come when you think you're separate or better than or worse than or different than or this or that. You're pulling yourself out of the oneness. And that's why there's that lack there, that emptiness. And those problems. And that's why we need to drink and take pills and eat and do this, because we're confused, because we've disconnected from the oneness that is God.
That is a beautiful way to finish, my brother. Thank you so much, mate. It's been a pleasure, as always, having a good chat with you. And we'll stay in touch. I will speak to you again soon. I'll get this podcast up within the next kind of few days, I would imagine. I'm going to send you, I'll put up the audio and send you the video, if that's all right.
Awesome.
Is that okay? Cool.
Yeah, that was great, man. This was awesome. I love our talks. You're the best. I
do too. Where do we find you online, just for everybody at home?
Oh, the best way is DennisBerry.com. And you can buy the book and listen to the Funky Brain podcast. And you can book a free session if you want to do some coaching work, or you can read some blogs. And now I've launched the Life Mastery School. I meant to talk about that earlier. So it's a series of free videos you can come on. It's free all the time. It's kind of like masterclass type stuff. And I do a whole series of videos on addiction recovery. The love and relationships one is about to be released. And I'm working on the meditation and mindfulness right now as we speak. And then there's also going to be a health and wellness one coming up soon. But it's just a series of free videos. Come check it out.
Wonderful. And for me, it's lifeinrecovery.co.uk for all my books and the podcast. And I finally got a date for my new book, All is One, which will be out in May 2022. So that's looking forward to that being published. Yeah. And thank you so much for your contribution to that as well, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening, and if you've been affected by any of the issues discussed in the podcast, please see a range of mutual aid organisations in the show notes. Peace and love, and goodbye for now.